People think when you turn 70, you stop understanding the world. They think your mind slows down, your opinions don't matter, and your stories are just noise. But I've learned something in my 71 years. Experience will always outsmart arrogance. My name is George, a retired mechanic from Ohio and a widower for 8 years now. I've lived an honest life, raised my son, Mark, to be kind, respectful, and hardworking. But lately, he's been seeing this young woman named Tiffany, sharp tongue, expensive taste, and more attitude than respect. When Mark first told me about her, he said, "Dad, she's different, ambitious, independent." I smiled. "That's good, son. Just make sure she's kind too." He didn't answer that part. A month later, they came over for dinner. I spent the day preparing my late wife's favorite roast recipe. The smell filled the house, warm and comforting, like old memories. When the doorbell rang, I opened it with a big smile. "Welcome, sweetheart," I said. Extending my hand to Tiffany, she looked me up and down, from my old flannel shirt to my slightly greasy hands, and gave me a tiny, fake smile. "Nice, cozy place," she said, glancing around. "Very vintage." I chuckled. "That's another word for old, right?" She shrugged. "Well, if it fits." Mark looked embarrassed, but I brushed it off. "I've dealt with worse." Dinner started fine. I tried to make small talk, asked her about her work. "I'm in marketing," she said proudly. "I manage social media campaigns for tech companies." "That's impressive," I said genuinely. "I used to fix engines, but I suppose people need their online engines fixed now too." She laughed lightly. "Yeah, it's a bit more complicated than car repair." That stung, not because she insulted what I did, but because she thought knowledge only lived behind a computer screen halfway through dinner. She started talking about her expensive new electric car. "It's the latest model," she said, "automatic everything." I'd love to see how old-school mechanics would even begin to understand it. Then she turned to me and smirked. "You probably wouldn't even know how to open the hood." Mark froze. I could see him about to scold her, but I stopped him. I smiled. "You're right, Tiffany. I might not know your fancy dashboard buttons, but I do know how that car actually works." She laughed again. "Oh, really? You think you could fix it?" I leaned back. "Not think, no." That's when she said, "Well, it's parked outside." "Why don't you show me?" Mark muttered, "Tiff, come on." But I stood up. No, let's humor her. It'll be fun." We walked outside. Her shiny electric car gleamed under the streetlight, sleek, modern, intimidating to anyone who didn't understand it. Tiffany crossed her arms. "All right, Mr. Old School. Impress me." I walked around the car, listening as it softly hummed, a sound most people ignored, but one I recognized instantly. I crouched down, tapped the tire pressure sensor, and noticed a faint orange flicker on the control light near the charge port. Then I said calmly, "Your left front tire sensor is failing and your charge port connector isn't fully seated. That's why your range dropped 12 miles this week." Her jaw dropped. "How could you possibly know that?" She stammered. I smiled. "Because cars may change shape, Tiffany, but they still speak the same language. You just have to know how to listen." I opened the port gently, adjusted the cable, and reset the connection. A soft click followed. The indicator light turned solid green. "There," I said. "Fixed, no software, no fancy tools. Just common sense and experience." She blinked, speechless. Mark was grinning ear to ear. "I told you my dad knows his stuff," he said proudly. Tiffany forced a laugh. "Well, that's impressive, I guess." We went back inside. She was quieter now, more respectful. During dessert, she finally said, "Mr. Miller, I'm sorry if I came off rude earlier. I didn't mean to sound condescending." I smiled kindly. "It's all right, dear. You're young. Confidence sometimes sounds like arrogance until life humbles it." She nodded, staring at her plate. For the first time, I saw her truly listening. Later that night, Mark walked her to the car. When he came back, he said, "Dad, she told me she's never felt so embarrassed in her life, but also, she said you earned her respect." I chuckled. Good, maybe she learned that age isn't ignorance. A few weeks later, Tiffany showed up at my door alone. I came to ask for your help, she said softly. My company's electric fleet is having issues, and no one can figure out the power drain problem. Could you maybe take a look? I invited her in, smiled, and said, Of course. Let's see what your modern world has broken this time. We worked together that day. I explained everything, how power circuits worked, how to find hidden faults. She listened carefully, even took notes. By the end, she said, I always thought old people didn't understand technology. But maybe it's us who don't understand patience. That made me laugh. Before she left, she said, You were right, experience doesn't age. It evolves. Now she visits often, not just to see Mark, but to sit with me in the garage and learn about machines. Sometimes she even jokes, Guess who's the ignorant one now? I just smile and reply, Nobody's ignorant who's willing to learn. You see, respect isn't something you demand, it's something you earn quietly, with wisdom and calm. And sometimes, proving someone wrong doesn't take shouting or anger, just a moment of truth, because age isn't a weakness. It's a weapon, a silent one that only those who've lived long enough know how to use.